One man killed so many people that he accidentally altered the climate of the entire planet. The Mongol Empire, founded by Genghis Khan in the early 13th century, remains the largest contiguous polity ever established in human history. We often hear of the Pax Mongolica, the revitalization of the Silk Road, and early postal systems, but these civilizational achievements were erected upon a foundation of unprecedented demographic annihilation. Genghis Khan recognized that warfare was not a mere contest of borders, it was a total existential commitment. His military campaigns resulted in the deaths of an estimated 40 to 60 million people, roughly 11% of the global population at the time. This was not chaotic bloodlust. This was the calculated architecture of total war. To comprehend the adult Genghis Khan's absolute ruthlessness, we must first examine the profound psychological trauma of his early life. Born as Temujin in the mid-1160s, his formative years were defined by sudden abandonment. Following the assassination of his father, who was poisoned by rival Tatars, Temujin's family was cast out by their own tribe. This collapse led to intense competition for the barest means of survival. According to the historical chronicle, The Secret History of the Mongols, Temujin and his younger brother were frequently bullied by their older half-brother, Bether. In the brutal calculus of the steppe, starvation was a constant threat. Bether asserted his dominance by stealing the meager food the younger boys managed to forage, specifically a fish and a lark. To Temujin, this was not sibling rivalry, it was a lethal threat to his continued existence. Rather than submit, 14-year-old Temujin and his brother stalked Bether through the tall steppe grass and eliminated him. When his mother discovered the act, she severely reprimanded him, comparing him to a wild beast. But the psychological threshold had irrevocably been crossed. This incident established a lifelong behavioral precedent for the future conqueror. Any threat to his authority, security, or resources would be met with terminal preemptive force. An absolute lack of sentimentality, learned in the isolation of the steppe, that would soon scale up to the annihilation of entire empires. The Mongol war machine achieved unparalleled success in siege warfare, not just through superior engineering, but through the cynical weaponization of human life, a tactic known as the Karash. Genghis Khan recognized that storming heavily fortified cities directly would result in unacceptable casualties for his Mongol warriors, who were always numerically inferior to the empires they conquered. To preserve his own men, he instituted a doctrine of using human shields. As the Mongol vanguard advanced, they gathered peasants, residents, and surrendered soldiers from the countryside. During subsequent sieges, these terrified captives were driven to the absolute front lines. This served multiple highly effective strategic purposes. First, the captives acted as living shields, absorbing incoming arrows and defensive projectiles, allowing Mongol siege engineers to advance completely unharmed. Second, it inflicted catastrophic psychological damage upon the defenders. Soldiers on the city walls were forced into the agonizing position of having to target their own countrymen, neighbors, and sometimes family members. This moral injury rapidly degraded the defenders' will to fight. In instances where a targeted city was surrounded by a deep defensive moat, the Mongols ruthlessly drove the Karash forward until they filled the trench, creating a human ramp for their battering rams to cross. It was a system that subordinated all moral considerations to the sheer mechanics of military victory. The annihilation of the massive Khwarezmian Empire, spanning modern-day Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan, was not triggered by unprovoked Mongol aggression. It was triggered by immense greed. In 1218, seeking peaceful trade, Genghis Khan sent a massive caravan of Muslim merchants to the city of Otrar. But the city's governor, Inalchuk, accused them of being spies. Driven by greed, he seized their vast wealth and executed the merchants. When Genghis Khan sent a formal diplomatic mission to demand reparations, Shah Muhammad II committed a fatal error. He executed the chief Mongol envoy and humiliated the survivors. In Mongol culture, ambassadors were sacred. This dual insult guaranteed the absolute destruction of the Khwarezmian state. Beat. During the multi-pronged invasion, Genghis Khan demonstrated a terrifying genius. Taking an army of 50,000 men, he traversed 300 miles of the seemingly impassable Kizilkum Desert. By hopping between hidden oases, they bypassed border defenses and appeared completely unexpectedly at the gates of Bukhara, a major center of Islamic scholarship. After the city surrendered, Genghis Khan executed a profound act of ideological warfare. He rode his horse into the city's great mosque, assembled the wealthy elites, and weaponized their theology against them. From the pulpit, he bellowed, "I am the flail of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." He positioned the Mongol horde not as a mortal army, but as an inescapable, supernatural cataclysm. As for Governor Inalchuk, who started the war with his greed, when he was finally captured, the Mongols designed an execution specifically to mock his insatiable desire for wealth. They poured molten silver upon him, sealing his fate with the very currency he had stolen. While standard warfare was reserved for the general populace, the Mongols utilized highly specific symbolic execution methods for royalty and rivals. According to Mongol spiritual beliefs, known as Tengrism, the earth and the sky god were sacred. The spilling of royal or noble blood upon the earth was considered a grave taboo that would defile the land. Consequently, the Mongols engineered methods to eliminate nobility without shedding a single drop of blood. When Genghis Khan finally captured his former blood brother turned bitter rival Jamuka, he offered him a place at his side. Jamuka declined, stating, "There is room for only one sun in the sky," and requested only an honorable death. Honoring this, Genghis Khan ordered his back broken, ensuring a rapid demise that did not violate the taboo. But this rule was also weaponized for cruel poetic justice. In 1223, at the Battle of the Kalka River, the Mongols captured 6 Russian princes who had previously executed a Mongol envoy. To exact revenge without shedding royal blood, the Mongols bound the living princes and laid them flat on the ground. They constructed a heavy wooden platform directly over them. The Mongol generals then held a massive raucous victory banquet atop the platform. As the Mongols feasted and celebrated above, the Russian princes were quietly crushed beneath the floorboards. The destruction of the Khorasan region represents the absolute apex of Genghis Khan's genocidal tendencies. Under the command of his son Tolui, this campaign resulted in an urban erasure that fundamentally altered the demographic map of the Middle East. Cities like Nishapur, Merv, and Herat faced catastrophic fates. In Nishapur, following a rebellion, every living creature was eliminated, including the city's cats and dogs. The ruins were then leveled and sown with barley to permanently return the urban landscape to nomadic pasture. But it was the siege of Gurganj that introduced a terrifying new tactic: permanent environmental devastation. The siege was complicated by bitter infighting between Genghis Khan's eldest sons, Jochi and Chagatai. Frustrated, the Khan transferred command to his third son, Ogedei. Lacking heavy stones for their catapults in the marshy terrain, the Mongols cut down massive groves of mulberry trees, soaking the trunks in water to harden them into battering rams. Following the brutal capture of the city, the Mongols took unprecedented steps to ensure Gurganj could never be resettled. They deliberately destroyed the massive Gurganj Dam on the Amu Darya River. This triggered an apocalyptic flood that washed away the smoldering ruins and drowned the agricultural plains. Because the engineers who managed the waterways were gone, the dam could not be repaired. The ecological impact was so incredibly severe that the mighty Oxus River permanently altered its course for the next 300 years. In 1225, Genghis Khan marched against the Western Shia dynasty. They had previously submitted as a vassal state, but secretly attempted to form an alliance against him. To the Khan, betrayal was the ultimate unforgivable sin. In August 1227, during the final stages of the siege, Genghis Khan fell mortally ill. His exact cause of death remains a heavily guarded mystery. While some suggest illness or a fall from a horse, a persistent legend claims a captured Tangut princess concealed a blade and inflicted a fatal injury upon him, exacting revenge for her people. Knowing his death was imminent, his final orders were not of peace, but of ultimate vindictiveness. He explicitly commanded the absolute extermination of the Tangut people. The culture, written language, and civilization of Western Shia were scattered to the winds and permanently erased from the geopolitical map. Genghis Khan vanished into a secret, unmarked tomb. But his most shocking legacy was left on the earth itself. The industrial scale of human death perpetrated by the Mongol invasions, the slaughter of millions of agrarian peasants, caused a sudden, massive abandonment of cultivated land across Eurasia. With human interference abruptly removed, nature rapidly reclaimed the territory. Millions of acres of formerly farmed land underwent aggressive reforestation. Modern paleoclimatology reveals that this explosive regrowth acted as a colossal carbon sink, absorbing approximately 700 million tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Ice core data confirms this massive carbon sequestration triggered a measurable period of global cooling. In a dark and morbid historical irony, Genghis Khan's campaign of unparalleled destruction inadvertently made him the architect of the most significant man-made reduction of atmospheric carbon in recorded history. An empire forged in the extreme heat of burning cities, which left a permanent, chilling scar on the earth itself.